In this video, I'm going to be talking about the Last Planner system, a new way of scheduling construction projects using some of the principles from different project management methodologies like agile and hybrid projects. A broad range of different types of projects using software led to a change in project methodologies. It bred this new way of scheduling and planning projects using agile. Now, the construction sector operates differently. Projects require a fixed scope that's hard to change during delivery. However, the Last Planner system is the construction sector's answer to these evolving project methodologies and an understanding that there's different ways to plan and manage projects other than the traditional waterfall approach. So when we're talking about project scheduling, there's really two categories of ways to build schedules. There's the critical path schedule, which is where you have a fixed scope, you list all the activities, you sequence them, you estimate durations, you build a schedule, you identify the critical path, the series of tasks that take the longest to perform and drive the project duration, then you optimize the critical path. The critical path schedule means you have a fixed scope up front. You know exactly what you're going to be doing. On the other hand, we could use agile scheduling methodologies where you have a rough understanding of the scope you want to do, which becomes your product backlog. And then with fixed time blocks called sprints or iterations, then you'll complete a certain number of these requirements. And then as you deliver value to your stakeholders, you adjust your backlog. Now, obviously, this doesn't work for a construction project. You can't start the foundations and then decide, oh, wait, no, the landscaping is going to deliver value faster and then start the landscaping. Obviously, it doesn't work for construction projects. Now, I know this description isn't perfectly correct, and I'm going to elaborate on the specifics of the Last Planner system later, but one way to think about what the Last Planner system is doing is it's taking the best from both worlds and tailoring and applying the scheduling principles to construction projects. So we've got critical path scheduling, where you've got a fixed scope, defining activities, sequencing them, and estimating durations. You've got an agile methodology where you've got a product backlog, and you're refining the scope as you go and deliver value. The Last Planner system, one way of thinking about it, is that it takes the best from both worlds. It takes the benefits of critical path scheduling to identify the project duration, but it also addresses some of the failures of critical path scheduling where construction projects, while the scope is fixed, detail gets added and things change. Circumstances change, so having this rigid, structured schedule that we follow throughout the life cycle of the project might not be applicable. So we use some of the principles from Agile. They get combined together, and this new system of tackling construction projects called the Last Planner system has been developed. The Last Planner system is a lean construction methodology that involves collaborative planning and production management. So it takes on some of these principles of stakeholder engagement and collaborative planning from Agile and combines them some of the principles of traditional construction project scheduling to create the Last Planner system, and it was developed by Glenn Ballard and Greg Howell. The Last Planner system has the following key components: master scheduling, phase planning, look-ahead planning, weekly work planning, daily huddles, and measurement and learning. So I'm going to go through each of these components so you can understand how the entire system fits together. So we start off with the master schedule or master scheduling. So this is where we establish in the pre-construction phase or the tendering phase, we establish the high-level milestones and phases of the project, and it provides an overall timeline while remaining flexible to change. So another way to think about this is we could use the principles of critical path scheduling to build an overall project schedule. However, we're not going into the same level of intricate detail that we would typically do when we build the master project schedule. The importance of this schedule is to determine the overall duration of the project, which is critically important in both planning and construction contracts. So when we sign a contract to deliver the project, we're confident to know that we can deliver the project within the contract timeframe because we've created our master project schedule. However, we're not getting too detailed at the start, and we're going to be adding detail as we progress through the project because of progressive elaboration. Now, a key point about the master schedule is that it's broken down into phases. So we have different phases to cover different portions of the project scope. For example, on a typical project, we might have a design phase where we're developing drawings and specifications. We'll then have a pre-construction phase where we're doing our procurement, ordering key long lead item materials and setting up the project. Then we'll move into the civil and earthworks, the foundations, the building structure, then each of the core construction phases will have its own phase of the project works. And the structure of these phases means that we can engage the relevant stakeholders for each phase. So the design phase, obviously engaging the architects and the design team. The pre-construction phase will be with the construction team. Civil and earthworks phase would involve the civil subcontractor or any utilities subcontractors, and so on and so forth. So the phases are broken down in a way to structure the life cycle of the project, but also the key stakeholders. So we've created our overall master schedule that shows the duration and total project. Then we've got our different phases of the works. Then as we move into delivery, we go into look ahead planning. So I would typically call this short range programming, which is your 3 to 6 week look ahead that the construction teams develop. These are very detailed schedules that are focused on coordinating and delivering every aspect of the work. So we need to understand everything that's involved in completing a task. Now, the purpose of this 3 to 6 week look ahead is to identify and remove potential constraints. I call this process pool planning. So it's when you're working backwards from an end goal or an end milestone, and you're working out everything that needs to be in place to complete the work. So if we're doing a foundation, we know to meet the completion of the foundation scope, we need to start the concrete pour on a certain date. That means the week before that, to enable that concrete pour, we need to have the survey set out. We need to have the foundations excavated. We might need to have compaction testing done. We'll need to have ordered the reinforcement. We'll need to have ordered the formwork. We're looking at the next activity and we're identifying everything that needs to be in place, all the potential roadblocks, and we're removing them. So that's when we create our look ahead short range plans. We're looking at every activity that's coming up, identifying everything that needs to be in place. And to do that effectively, we'll be engaging with stakeholders. So the concreting contractor, we need to understand exactly what they need to start their work. So it's all about identifying potential constraints, working with stakeholders, understanding what the next trade needs, and then eliminating all of those constraints. After we've created our 3 to 6 week look aheads, we then go to an even greater level of detail, which is our weekly work planning. This is where we add even more detail and we plan exactly what's going to occur on each day. We might do this in a weekly works planning meeting. And the key here is that the different teams commit to providing deliverables to other teams. There's this idea of commitment and working with the other stakeholders and saying, okay, if we're completing the bulk earthworks, we need to have finished the excavation for this foundation to enable the concreting contractor to start on a certain date. So the teams are committing to these deliverables between each other, which drives accountability and ultimately increases the chances of meeting these dates. Then a level of detail below the weekly works planning is your daily huddle. So these are short daily meetings to review progress and adjust the plan. So we start with the weekly works plan, then every day we're also meeting and adjusting that plan and updating as things go. So maybe we'd call this a pre-start or a daily works meeting. And it's all about reviewing the actual progress yesterday, the actual progress today, and understanding any new constraints that have come up and anything that can prevent us meeting these dates. Now, we've got all of those different stages of planning. We go from the master schedule to the phases, to the look ahead plans, to the weekly work planning, for daily meetings. Lean construction and the Last Planner system also integrates this component of measurement and learning. Now, I know lessons learned is something that we typically do atrociously on construction projects, and we learn the same lessons every project. Well, the Last Planner system devotes a specific focus to measurement and learning. So measuring performance, metrics on how we're tracking, and then quickly integrating these learnings into the project. We do this through regular review meetings to identify what's worked well so we can do more of it and what's gone badly so we can address the concerns. So what are the benefits of the Last Planner system? Well, the first one is it's going to enhance schedule accuracy. Why is this? Because we're engaging stakeholders who have expert judgment and awareness of how to complete specific tasks. Because they're constantly engaged, the people doing the work, the people who understand the work best, we're going to ensure that our schedule is more accurate and more realistic. In addition to being a more realistic plan, we're also going to increase the reliability that we follow the plan. So we're focusing on removing constraints. We've got this constant focus on what activity is coming next, who's doing that activity, what do they need to complete the task? And because we're constantly asking ourselves these questions, we're constantly looking at the next activity in the chain, then we're going to increase the reliability that we follow our schedule because we're more likely to see and prevent constraints to the work. We're going to pick up issues that prevents the next trade from successfully starting the works. So we're going to increase the chances that these trades start successfully. So because the Last Planner system has broken the project up into phases and engaged the people doing the work in each of these phases, then the Last Planner system fosters better collaboration and among stakeholders and better communication. And this is going to basically increase, as we've already said, the realisticness and accuracy of the schedule, but also the chance we're meeting it. It's also going to lead to better, more coordinated decisions that lead to better project outcomes, and it's going to enhance the communication among stakeholders. So as much as it's a tool for scheduling the works, it's also a tool for enhancing communication, making sure the people with the best knowledge, the people who can make the best decisions, their input is being integrated into the plan. Final benefit is continuous improvement. Now, as I said before, lessons learned is something that we struggle with on construction projects. We end up learning the exact same lessons every single project. Now, because there's this piece to the Last Planner system of measuring and monitoring performance and quickly integrating these lessons learned into the way we're planning and delivering the project, the idea is this continuous monitoring and adjustment of schedules based on our real-time performance is going to improve the overall performance of the scheduling function. We're constantly measuring what we're doing, seeing what's working, seeing what's not working, fixing what's not working, taking what we've done well and doing more of it. My takeaways from the Last Planner system. Now, even if it's not called the Last Planner system, this concept of progressive elaboration, adding detail to the master project schedule, creating 3 to 6 week look aheads, and then engaging the people who are doing the work to improve the quality of the schedule is an invaluable function, and every construction project should be doing this. Even if you're not calling it the Last Planner system, even if you're not calling it lean construction, that same principle, taking the master project schedule, breaking it down into 3 to 6 week look aheads, and then engaging the people doing the work to increase the accuracy, realisticness of these works. And then when you're developing these schedules, using the prompt, what does the next trade need, or what does the next trade need to succeed in their task, as a way of thinking through everything that needs to be in their schedules, is going to improve the performance of your construction projects. It's the exact way that I schedule, and it's the only way I think about short range planning, as listing out everything that needs to be done to enable the next trade. That pool planning prompt, thinking through everything that needs to be done so the next trade can succeed, has been one of the most valuable tools I've found when creating schedules. The other thing I love about the Last Planner system is it doesn't do away with the traditional scheduling methods. It understands that there's a role for critical path scheduling and the development of the large master project schedules. They have a role in establishing overall project timeframes, and they're an important contractual document. But it also understands the failure of these schedules, that they require further elaboration of defining of tasks, and they struggle to integrate communication and the knowledge of the people doing the work into the structure of the schedule. So my key takeaways are, even if you're not calling it the Last Planner system, you should take away this concept of progressive elaboration, 3 to 6 week look aheads, and building them around input from the people doing the work, but also understand that there is value in the traditional scheduling methods for specific applications.